let's move on to point number 5. I would tell you that, as I said, I read 12 to 15 pages of notes from these folks and some others in the group, and thank you for everyone who did that. And I would say that 25% of them, 25% of the things that were written related to this point, which is a major emphasis on how you close the meeting, how you set expectations, and how you follow up. And so what that told me was that good mentors place a particular emphasis on leaving the right expectation when the client walks out the door after that first meeting, or after any meeting. So let me ask Mike to talk about this a little bit.
Okay, and a couple of these that are key to me, I'm a convert, like being an ex-smoker or whatever, because I didn't do this and somebody convinced me it was a good idea, and so I've got a before and after, and they are good ideas. Setting a date, time, and place for the next meeting. We would agree that the client would get back to me and we could set up a follow-up, or I would get back to the client. I've found that if we put a date on the calendar, it may get changed, it may get canceled, but I would say 75 or 80% of those follow-up meetings happen. So I'm a firm believer in that.
Can I throw in there? Make it the client's date if you can.
Sure.
Yes.
That way, they've already signed up for, that's enough time to get my homework done.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I've found that unless there's something very specific and short-term that needs to be done, anything less than a month is too short for a follow-up. I usually go for 4 to 6 weeks. The second follow-up, probably even more, 2 to 3 months. The second thing that I'm a convert to is sending an email summarizing the meeting. That's extra work for us, but I think it does two things. It helps me do my report on the meeting, because I got to go back and summarize what we talked about. And also, by sending that to the client, it sets the agenda for the next meeting and sets the expectation of what the client needs to get done. Over the years, I've had too many meetings where you have a follow-up and you end up rehashing the first meeting. So you have to, something specific has to change before the second meeting is worthwhile. The effective means of communicating, I've found that telephone and email follow-ups can very often be very effective. You don't have to get together face-to-face every time. I've had a few clients, I had one client, only one that I can remember, who I never set eyes on. And, it was a client relationship that went on for about a year, and it was all by email and telephone, and we'd have, telephone meetings. So, I think these are all good things. I guess I react a little bit to the word homework. It's not homework. We're not assigning the client homework. The client should be determining at the meeting what they need to do next to move their plan forward, and agreeing that they're going to work on that before we meet again. But I don't think any of these are controversial.
I make a big point of telling them to get back in touch with me anytime, any way. I don't want you hung up out there and because we don't have a meeting scheduled for another month. If something's got you hung up, get on the phone, send me an email. And by repeating that at every time we get together, it just makes them feel more relaxed about comfort with continuing the ongoing relationship, and we end up having a lot more interaction and email sessions, telephone sessions. So I think just that emphasis puts them at ease that we're safe to get back in touch with them.
Not only for reporting purposes, but for question asking too.
Yeah, absolutely.
I got confused on something. I don't care.
Yeah. Don't get hung up
Right.
because you don't know that. Get on the phone, give us a call. Yeah.
Do you ever use the follow-up when you're writing session notes, the automated, you can put in, say, when do I want to follow up? You get an
I do
email
that.
back.
I do that a lot.
I use that almost all the time. I wish they had a 60-day choice on there, because what sometimes happens is I got a 30-day follow-up, and then I got to go in and put another 30-day follow-up in. But yeah, that's very helpful.
Kathy, did you have?
I was just gonna say, when I send an email summarizing the meeting, I'll just paste that in for the meeting notes, so I'm not doing a separate task.
Any of you ever used, for that middle between appointments, video conferencing?
I have.
I've done that with 2 clients recently, and just for quick down there, I'll set up and then go to meeting. You can do it for almost instantaneous. And when you're looking at each other, it just makes a world of difference.
Yeah, and it's easy to do.
Oh, it's hugely easy.
Yeah, I have one client that I only meet with her by video. And it's great because it's easy to have a 15 or 30-minute meeting on us. She has a simple question or a simple topic we want to talk about. Because I'm at home, she's either at home or in her office, and we can have that conversation very, very easily. It's not where we're gonna meet, you have to drive, I have to drive, we have to have a cup of coffee when we're at Panera, whatever, but just get together, it's 15 minutes, 30 minutes, and we're done, and we move on, and I think because of that, we meet more often. To, and whenever she's stuck, she doesn't hesitate to just send me a note and say, hey, can we spend 30 minutes, I'm stuck on this particular topic, and it's easy to do.
I mean, I'll be honest with you, I have found that I'm more capable of doing that at 7:30 in the morning, because I'm up anyway, they are, and not only that, but I don't have to worry about getting dressed as long as I'm wearing a good shirt.
The visual there doesn't help. Something else that occurred to me as I was putting this together and having interaction with clients is, I think sometimes we forget how intimidated clients can be. I just saw a note from a client that said, well, I hadn't heard from you in a while, and I thought I'd done something wrong. And I think we forget sometimes that a lot of clients that come in here are very intimidated by the process, very intimidated by what's ahead of them, sometimes very intimidated by us, although I find that hard to believe. And but I think we forget that. And the more we can do to create structure so that they feel comfortable interacting within that structure, I think the better experience that they'll have, and probably the better experience we'll have as well. Because the structure almost gives them an excuse. If we've set a meeting schedule, well, I have a meeting, I have to be ready for it, I have to be there. Whereas if we just leave it up to them, they may not be comfortable reaching out. Okay, we're gonna run out of time, so I want to move on to the last point.